lessons. Time. Where do you live? Where do you live? Do you live in the past? Do you live in the present? Do you live in the future? Now, obviously, in the chronology of time along a timeline, you obviously live in the present. You're here right now watching this. So obviously your body is in this point in time. But my question is not about where your body exists. My question is about where does your mind, your heart, and your soul, where does that exist? Does it exist in the past, the present, or the future? This is a very powerful lesson. It's actually part of a big piece that I'm putting together that I wanted to decided I was going to come on and share, but I wasn't doing it today. I was going to do it on the weekend, so I'm doing it right now. So here's how it goes. What I want you to consider is this. There are people who clearly live in the past. You've met them, right? They're always talking about how things happened. They might be talking about how it was great when they were at college and they hang around with their friends and you know, one of the signs that you know somebody lives in the past is that's exactly what they talk about. That's all they talk about, actually. They'll talk about the past constantly. They talk about how it was in college, or how it was when we first got married, or how different things were happening, but the past is always the reference. And then there are people who live in the future. And the people who live in the future are very goals-oriented. Often they're very successful because they're always moving towards that future outcome. And then there are people who live in the present. And you know, we talk a lot about, particularly nowadays, we talk a lot about being present with what's going on. Are you present in the moment? Are you here? But I want you to understand that there's actually a downside to any one of those three categories. And I've really been exploring this in my own research over the last few years. So here's the first thing about it, is if you live in the past, obviously, you're going to get stuck. Obviously, it's very difficult to be fully present because you're always feeling like your life is simply a result of the past, and there's no way to change that result. It just is what it is, and you kind of get stuck in the past. Then there is those who live in the future. And oftentimes people who live in the future, as I said, they're very successful, they hit their goals, but one of the things that I've noticed about them, working with some of the leaders and some of the people who are just exceptional at achieving things, very often they are reaching their goals, but they have very little satisfaction. They kind of lack satisfaction. They have tons of success, but not too much satisfaction, not so much fulfillment. Those things tend to go missing from who they are. So if you live in the past, you tend to feel like a victim of what happened, past tense. If you live in the future, you are always living your life in this place of, I'll be happy when I get to that next goal, when I get to that next million, when I find my soulmate, when I find the right person, then I can be happy. Then I'll be, then it's going to be all great. The problem with that is if it's always based in the future, then that's the way your brain is trained. And so when the future does show up, what happens is exactly that. As soon as you get to the goal that you were looking for, once you get to that, well, guess what? Then you get stuck again. You get really stuck because now you're looking back at the future. You're looking back at the next, what's going to be the next thing? What's going to be the next goal? What's going to be the next thing? So if you're living in the past, you're stuck because you're living as a victim. If you're living in the future, you're stuck because you're always delaying happiness. You're always waiting for the thing to make you happy. So then you go, well, obviously then the answer is for me to live in the present, right? Well, there's a problem with living in the present too. If you live in the present, you might be, and it might be of the three, maybe it's the better of the three, but if you're living in the present, you might be more grateful for what's in front of you in this very moment. That's fabulous. But the downside of it is that a very lot of people who live in the present have not processed the past, and they actually can't move forward into the future because they don't know how to set the future. So here's the question I want to put to you. Here's what I want you to consider for a moment. Do you live in the past dominantly? Okay, not entirely, but dominantly. Do you live in the past? So you're always thinking about what was? Do you live in the future, thinking about what will be? How are you going to be happy when? Do you live in the present, but kind of, you might use language like, well, that was in the past. We don't have to deal with that. That's gone. That's history. Well, you know what? Not so much. Maybe, on the other hand, if you're in any one of those three places on its own, there's a good chance you're going to get stuck. This is what I just want you to really grasp. There's a very good chance you'll get stuck if you're living in any one of those three. So here's the key. My message here to you that I want you to grasp is that you need to live in all three with the dominance in the present. Now, let me explain what I mean. If you live in the future, as I said, you're delaying gratification, you're delaying happiness. So you have got to be present in this moment, but at the same time, understand that it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter how smart you are, or how intelligent you think you are impacted, as we all are, by history. Your history has had impact on you. It's hit things in you, it's imprinted things on you, and it's told you who you are and what you can expect. So if you grew up in a family where you were constantly disappointed, you're very likely conditioned with expecting disappointment. If you haven't processed that and you try to live in the present, you're living in the present thinking about how you're going to be disappointed in the future. Does that make sense? Because it's the dominant thought process that you're in. It just has you stuck. It has you stuck. So, what I'm suggesting to you is that if you're going to really make time work for you, you have to process history. You've got to process where you came from. Be present in... So when I say that, what I'm talking about is recognizing when something shows up that actually is a reflection of your history, rather than pretending it's not there or pretending that it's somehow separate from you, or thinking that somehow it's not real. It is real. You naturally, this is the law of resonance. You are going to pull with you or to you that which was imprinted upon you. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be reactive to it. It doesn't mean that you have to go along with it. But it does mean you have to acknowledge it. You have to be fully acknowledging, this is where I was. This is what happened. This is how I got imprinted. This is why I see the world the way I see the world. Because that actually becomes your lenses through which you see the world. It becomes the way you see the world from that history. The interesting thing about it is, if you don't process the past and you're not present if you're not fully present, you can't actually create a vision of the future. This is fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating. I've been working on this for a couple of years, but really digging in the last few months, trying to put this together as a program to help you. So you got to process the past. You got to be present in this present moment. And you got to be able to create a vision for the future. If you're having trouble creating a vision of the future, my suggestion to you is that you've either not processed something from history that needs to be processed, or, and this is the twist, you may have been very good at processing the past. So, I've been doing what I'm doing for a very long time. I've done a lot of processing in the past. But one of the things I've noticed, I'm just going to be totally open with you here, is that I am very present. I'm very in the present. But my entire work has been about processing the past, not just for myself, but for a lot of people, so that they can move to the future. So they can actually move forward in the vision of where it is that they want to go and what it is that they want to do. And here's what I found interesting about it is that I can see people's past so clearly in ways they can't even see it. So I see things about their past. I see the reflections in their present that they may entirely miss. That's okay. This is my specialty. It's what I do. But by seeing that, I can bring them into the present, see what's going on in the present that is a reflection of history, inspire them to see that they are actually capable of achieving amazing things moving forward. And I help them to create this vision moving forward, using and shifting and leveraging the history that they've had so that they can empower themselves to create a powerful, powerful future. This is what I do with my clients all the time. It's fabulous work. But one of the things about it that I found really interesting was that for myself, I've done a ton of processing of my past. I'm very present in the moment, but I've lacked, like, what's the weakest of the three for me? The weakest of the three for me has been this future vision. That's been the weakest of the three. So I had to ask myself a very difficult question, a question I actually didn't want to answer, I'll be honest with you. It was like, it's too hard, but I needed to answer it, and that was this. If I've done so much processing of the past and I'm so good at being present, why is it that I struggle to sometimes create a vision for the future in my own life? Not in other people's lives. In other people's lives, I'm magnificent at it. I paint a picture that has them, they fully get in it. It's 3D, they can step into it. It's pretty awesome. So why have I had that challenge with myself? And the answer is this, and this is what I want you to grasp. Because, and this piece here was where I was going to go in the show today with Ariel. And that was this. One of the primary human needs, one of the things we need more than anything, is love and connection. Now, I think you know that, even at a basic level. Even if you don't understand psychology, you kind of get that we all need love and connection, right? It makes sense. We all have that desire. But what does that actually mean, love and connection? Because if you don't have a healthy model of love and connection, any model will do. The one you grew up with, which may be incredibly unhealthy, becomes your default position. It becomes exactly where you live. You live in that state of it not really being what it is that you want. So your default position for love becomes a not a very healthy one. Now, I am fortunate, I am extremely blessed, as many of you know, that I am married to the woman of my dreams, 20 years married. Every day I wake up blessed, and every night I go to bed and I state my gratitude for my queen, being my queen. I'm very blessed for that. And there's nothing in this relationship that even fits slightly into the model that I grew up with. Why? Because I processed my history. I did a lot of work on looking at the kinds of relationships that I had. And believe me, I was really good at having bad relationships. I had many shitty relationships. And it wasn't about the other person. It was about me. Certainly they had their own stuff, but I was certainly fully participatory in these dysfunctional relationships. I processed that and did a lot of work and worked with a lot of therapists and coaches and guidance and workshops and those things so I could clear that stuff up. Now I have processes that make that way faster. It doesn't have to take you 10 years anymore. Like the work that I do really sort of turbocharges that and makes it super fast. So I'd done that work. So as a result, I was able to be very present when I met somebody, which was my wife. And as a result, we've created an incredible future together from that moment forward, 20 years in, as I said. That's pretty awesome. So where is it in my life that there's been this difficulty or this challenge in stepping into the future? And the answer is this. Here's what's fascinating about it. Is because of this need for love and connection, that translates not only into romantic love, but it translates into belonging. Now, what do I mean by belonging? I want you to think of belonging at an even more basic level than love in the romantic sense. I want you to translate it into tribe. Human beings at our basic level, we are tribal. We are tribal. We have to have our own tribe. And I'm very proud. I've been very blessed because I have an amazing tribe. I have amazing people around me. I've been very blessed actually, and it's from the work that I did in processing how I did relationships, that I have a tribe of extraordinary people in my life. People who I love, who love me, who believe in me, who I believe in, who hold me at the highest possible level. And that means sometimes kicking my ass too, by the way. But they hold me at the highest possible level and I hold them at the highest possible level. We see the magnificence in each other and we hold each other to that magnificence. But what I realized recently was I still had an attachment to the old tribe. That was what was stopping me creating the future. Now, let me be really clear, because at a logical level, that made no sense to me. Logically, there was no part of me that would say, oh yeah, I'm going to hang out with the old tribe. I don't hang out with the old tribe at all. I barely even see anybody from my history. I don't have a particularly strong connection with members of my family. There's a few members, but not many. Only the ones who are loving and supportive, and I can love and support them. So what was it? It was this psychological imprint that got to me when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I wanted something better. I wanted something magnificent. I believed in great things, that I was capable of great things, and that I could help others create great things. That was inside of me. That was what it is that I believed in myself, that I could do something magnificent. But I grew up in a ghetto around very poor people who were struggling and often addicted and violent and all those kinds of things. And the idea of saying something like that was what we call in Australia tall poppy syndrome. You say stuff like that and somebody's going to cut the head off and they cut you down to size. And, who do you think you are, you big head? And that shit got into my head. That stuff got into me at a deep level. So even though I've created this tribe of magnificent people who I look at and have such great admiration for, people who are outstanding, I realized that I still had an attachment to the old tribe. It's called a false bond. I had a false bond with my history, a false bond with my old tribe. They're not who I am. And so, in a very long meditation and a very deep dive that I took just this last weekend, I really examined that. I really took a deep look at, where have I not processed the past, where am I not fully present, and where am I not fully integrated into my future? And the only thing I could get to, because I thought, well, is there some belief that I've got? No, it's not a belief. It was an attachment to the need to belong to my tribe, a tribe that is not mine. So cutting that false bond is incredibly powerful. So as a result, just as an example, I have felt so abundant. I felt so magnificent. I felt so loved. I felt so like my real tribe, the tribe that I have now, really has my back. And as a result, opportunities are starting to show up more and more and more. People asking me, can you work with me? Would you be willing to come speak here? Would you be willing to speak? Now, obviously, I'm successful and those things happen all the time. But there's something different, and I can't really tell you exactly what it is right now. I'll probably know in a year from now when I look back on this moment exactly what it is, but that is what's happening. So, let's sort of do a quick overview review. There are 3 time places: past, present, future, or past, present, future, wherever it is for you. Think about where that lies in your head. Is the past on the left, and the future on the right, and the present in the center? Is the past at the back? Is the future at the front, and the present in the center? Or is it some other way for you? Maybe it's different. We all have our own way of picturing that. Whatever it is, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reverse the past and the future. This is a technique. I want you to get this. When you reverse it. So if your past is on the left and your future is on the right, swap them in your mind. Take the picture and swap them. And notice what happens. Now, what should happen is it should feel uncomfortable. If your past is at the back and your future is at the front and you swap them, it should feel like, this is weird. It doesn't really work. Good. That's what you want. It doesn't really work. Now, remember, I still want you to process your past. You got to get the shit out of the way. But what I want you to do now is I want you to take your present and pull it close to you, And then I want you to take the past and the future and put them next to each other in your mind. So now the past and the future are sitting out in front of you about 3 feet away from you, next to each other. Got it? Okay? And put your present very close to you. Now what I want you to do, you got that? So you got your present very close, and you got your past and your future sitting right next to each other. Got that? Now what I want you to do is I want you to push the future a little bit further away. So now you've got present very close, you've got past not too far away, and then the future just behind that. Okay? Now what I want you to do is I want you to expand the past. I want you to make it bigger in your mind. Picture it getting bigger. And once it's big enough, I want you to take a pair of tweezers. I want you to pick out, one by one, 2 or 3, maybe 4 spectacular moments. Now, some people have got a lot more than that, and some of us have got very much less than that. But if you can find 2, 3, 4 spectacular moments from your past, particularly from your past in your teens and preteens and childhood, pick a couple of those moments out. Just hand pick them. And what I want you to do is I want you to place them right into the present. Boom. Just take them from the past. Boom. Put them in the present. So now you've got the experience of them flowing into you in the present, of that magnificent experience that came from your past. Now what I want you to do is to realize that the rest of the past doesn't have a lot of use. So what I want you to do is I want you to make it smaller. I want you to make it smaller, and as you make it smaller, I want you to push it out to one side and bring the future up to you. So now the future's close to you. So now you've got the present really tight, you've got the future just in front of the present, and you've got the past that you've just pushed out onto the other side of the future, and it's getting smaller and smaller. And as it gets smaller and smaller, I want it to just move further and 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 further away from you, until the past is this tiny little dot floating away into nothingness. Until that past is in nothingness. You've taken the good stuff of it. You've taken the magnificence of it. And don't worry if you think you might have missed a couple of things. They're already contained in the stuff that you took. But the past that you don't need, the attachment that you have to a tribe that is no longer yours, you're going to just keep pushing that and pushing out and pushing out further and further and further into the universe until it just disappears into the existence of the universe, until it's just, there's not even a dot left of what was that, any parts of that past and any part of it that was attached. Now just check with yourself. Just come in for a moment and check with yourself. And check whether you're fully present. Now that you check if you're present, you got that? Good. Now you've got that. That's fabulous. You're fully present. Now look at the future, which is not too far in front of you. You'll see it's just very close. As you see that future just very close to you, now what I want you to do is that I want you to create a tube between the present and the future. So like a straw that joins the two. And I want you, in your mind, to travel down the straw to the future. And I want you to pick an event, something that's happening in that future event. So maybe, in my case, I'm standing on a stage, a very famous stage, surrounded by a certain audience that I would love to speak to. But whatever it is for you. I'm going to use my analogy because I think it might help you to create the picture. So in my analogy, I've just been welcomed onto the stage. I stepped onto that stage. I can hear my footsteps walking across the stage. And I stop in the front and the center of that stage. And as I step into the front and center of that stage, there's a big ass smile on my face because I'm here. And it feels so good. And I can feel my feet are totally grounded. And I start to feel myself kind of giggle inside because it feels so damn good. And there's a lot of lights on me. And I'm not supposed to step past a certain place because then I'm going to go into the dark. But I do anyway. And you know why? So that I can just take a look at these thousands and thousands of people And I can look down there, right there, front and center, that's my bride. Next to her, all the people who are in my real tribe. Those who really love me and those who supported me, those who've really helped me to get here. And I look down at them all and I just give them a smile and I give them a wave and I take a step back. So now the lights of the stage are back on me. And I feel totally inspired and I feel totally in the flow and I feel totally connected and I'm totally present with being of service. And I just open myself up. I don't need to memorize. There's nothing. I'm just in this magnificent flow of feeling totally present and being able to deliver. And I see myself speaking and it's flowing beautifully and there's playfulness and there's joy and there's love and there's compassion and there's excitement and there's inspiration and there's awakenings and all those amazing things are happening as I speak on that stage in that moment. And as all this continues on, I can see, every now and then when the light catches, I can see people with big, huge smiles. And I can see people who tears are flowing down their cheek as I touch their heart and their soul. And as I see that the words that I'm speaking are lifting their heart, their souls, and their minds to higher and higher levels of magnificence. That I'm bringing them back to their purpose. That I'm aligning them with where they truly belong, in their magnificence, in their purpose. And that each one of them knows exactly how to serve because we've been there together. Everyone in that room feels connected and bonded to each other, to me, and I to them. That I love and care about them, and they know that. And as I listen to the uproar of laughter and I see the cheering, and at the end, when I finish and I thank them and I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to serve them, and I take my bow and people stand and they applaud. And I can hear it's thunderous. It's thunderous. And my heart is expanded. And I feel so deeply grateful for being in that place at that time to be able to serve in this way. And I can see exactly when it is. And as I walk off stage, my wife is already there. She gives me a big hug and there's tears in her eyes. It's so beautiful. And I'm greeted by 3 or 4 other people who want to engage me, want to have me work with them, who want to bring me in to speak at other spectacular events. And I'm just so delighted to be able to serve. I feel so blessed to be in that place. And as I walk through that space, I'm also greeted now by my tribe. Each members of my true tribe are there with me, and they're supporting me, and they're applauding me, and they're thanking me, and it feels so great. And I thank each and every one of them for being in my tribe, for loving me, for believing in me, even when I lost faith in myself. And I feel deeply grateful, deeply loved, and I know that I am deeply abundant in all things at all times. So that's what you're doing. You've traveled down that tube. You've created that vision for yourself, whatever it is that you did. So now you're living in that future space. And what I want you to do now is I want you to start collapsing the straw so that the future and the present start to come together in you magnificently. And I want you to take them with your hand and just grab it. So now you've got the present and the future in your hand. And I want you to just put it in your heart. And as you have it in your heart, know that it's there. Now, as you hold it in your heart, you understand that even though the shitty parts of your past have been pushed out into the far end of the universe and have got nothing to do with you, that yes, things from your history are going to show up. They're going to give you an opportunity to process them, and they're going to give you a process to heal them. They're going to give you an opportunity to see the gift that they bring. But every time one of those things from the past, those imprints from the past shows up, what it's really there for, and you will know this, is to show you what your life's purpose is. You see, because your life's purpose is ingrained in your past, in your pain. That's the catalyst for you. So right there, past, present, future. Let go of the false bonds. Let go of that tribe that no longer serves you, no longer is aligned with who you are. Step into the present, be fully present, and create a vision of the future where you get to serve by the truth of who you are, in your purpose, in your magnificence, because you, my friends, were born whole, complete, and magnificent. My name is Dov Baron. I'm the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. This was not why we came on here, but I do hope that you found it extraordinarily valuable. I look forward to reading your comments and your feedback below, and I will respond to you. Thank you for your patience. And you know what? We will do it. Ariel and I will work it out, and we'll come back and we'll do another program for you. I want to thank you for coming on. I hope you don't feel gypped or misled. I really appreciate you being on. And listen, some of you know I've got a brand new book coming out, new ebook coming out called One Red Thread. It's all about purpose, exciting stuff. Go through my feed and you'll see there's an opportunity for you to get your hands on it absolutely free. All I'm asking is that you go on to Amazon and leave me a review. That's it. Pretty cool stuff. Brand new course coming up too. You want to find out about that? Here's where you go. tinyurl.com. So you got that? T-I-N-Y. tinyurl.com. Letter U, letter R, letter L. tinyurl.com/the purpose list. If you go to that, you're going to get a chance to go on my wait list for this course. It's something that I normally only do in a corporate environment. They pay me a lot of money to do this with companies and corporations and executive teams. But I'm actually a friend of mine, again, a member of my true tribe, the person who really believes in me. Members of my tribe came together and said, here's the thing. Why don't you do that for the public? So that's what I've decided to do. I'm going to do this course for the public. Now, I'm only going to do it with 20 people, so we're creating a wait list. If you want to get on that wait list, please get yourself over to tinyurl.com/the purpose list. Thank you, Marilyn. You're a rock star. She put it on there. If you go to that, you'll be able to go on that wait list. And I believe next week we're going to announce who the first 20 people are. This is a pilot test. It's a way for us to do it. And instead of charging the tens of thousands of dollars that would normally happen, you're going to get a chance to be part of this program. It's going to be pretty awesome. All right. Till next time, this is Dov Baron saying, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious. If you're living in the past, the present, or the future. And if you're exclusively stuck in one, maybe you're missing out. Till next time, Dov Baron, I'm out. See you at the Purpose List.